Before we begin this morning prayer, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like this video. God, I wake up today and the heaviness is already here, not in my limbs, not in my bones, but in that quiet space under my ribs where my heart tries to find rhythm. I haven't yet spoken, haven't even reached for the cup on my bedside table, but already I feel the tightening, the thoughts lining up, the worries clicking into place like soldiers in formation, the questions I don't know how to answer, the conversations I dread, the responsibilities I didn't act for, and the ones I did, but that feel too much now. You know every one of them. You saw them before I opened my eyes. And as I sit here breathing in the silence, I need to start this day with a single truth. This battle is not mine today. I know what it feels like to wear the armor too long, to patch it with willpower and strap it tight with pride, to keep marching, even after the cause is blurred, even after the road no longer feels like mine. I've walked into days determined to fix, to prove, to carry everything alone. I've called that strength. I've called it being responsible. But you never asked me to be the general of every fight. You never asked me to bleed just to feel worthy of your help. You only asked me to bring the weight to you, and I forget that. I confess I forget that. Over and over again, I pick up the sword, when what you want is for me to lay it down. So here I am, Lord, morning still quiet, nothing yet demanded of me, no battle raging out loud, and I surrender before the noise begins. I surrender before my thoughts spiral into tactics and arguments. Before I build cases in my head or rehearse every scenario that could go wrong, I surrender the instinct to control, the instinct to strategize, the instinct to clench my fists. What if today you go first? What if today I stop walking into every hour with my shoulders already raised, expecting the fight? What if I leave the armor where it is and walk in the trust that if there's something I'm meant to face, you'll face it with me? Because the truth is, you fight differently. You don't swing wildly. You don't need noise to win. Sometimes you move like silence, cutting through confusion without a word. Sometimes you fight with timing, doors that open not when I knock, but when you turn the key. Sometimes you let the fire come close, not to burn me, but to prove that I won't be consumed. You are not a god of panic. You are not reactionary. And you don't need me to perform exhaustion to earn your help. You already said you'd be here. You already said the battle belongs to you. You already said I'm not alone. So what does that mean in real terms, God? If this battle is yours, what do I do with my hands? What do I do with the email I don't want to answer? The task I don't feel ready for? The person whose words cut deeper than they should? What do I do when the voice in my head says, you're not doing enough? You're not enough? Do I just ignore it? No. But I don't have to fight it the same way. I don't have to fight it on its terms. I don't have to prove my value to voices that never saw the cross. I don't have to spend this day swinging at shadows when I could just stand in the light. The truth is light. Your presence is light. And when I stay close to it, the shadows start to thin. Let me walk differently today. Let me pause before I react. Let me breathe before I reply. Let me remember that you're not only present, you're active. You're ahead of me. You're in the meeting before I walk in. You're already preparing the outcome I haven't even begun to hope for. And even if the answer is no, or not yet, or wait, that too is a form of your fight. That too is a kind of love I don't always recognize in the moment. So I release my agenda. I release my timeline. I release the idea that I have to win something today just to feel like I'm doing okay. Let peace be the prize. Let trust be the goal. Let surrender be my act of faith. And God, when fear comes, as it probably will, don't let me spiral. Don't let me mistake adrenaline for wisdom. Don't let me armor up again just to survive the next few hours. Stay near. Remind me that you don't need me invincible. You don't need me brilliant. You just need me yielded, available, soft enough to be led, humble enough to admit I don't have the answers, brave enough to step back and let you step in. Today, Lord, I'm not asking you to take every challenge away. I'm not pretending life will glide by without resistance, but I'm asking for alignment, that my mind would align with your will, that my heart would align with your peace, that my steps would align with your spirit. And when something tries to pull me off center, an anxious thought, a hard word, a memory that stings, let me return to this. This battle is not mine. Not today. Not this hour. Not while I'm held by the one who cannot lose. You have a way, God, of turning what looks like loss into mercy, what looks like silence into strategy, what looks like delay into refinement. Help me not confuse your stillness with absence. Help me not confuse your pace with indifference. If you're not rushing, if you're not flustered, then I won't fake control. You have never once asked me to save the day. You have only ever asked me to follow, to trust, and to stay close. So that's what I'll do. I'll stay close. Sometimes, God, it's not the weight of the fight, but the silence before it that unnerves me. The waiting, then not knowing what will happen, but feeling like something's coming. And in that space, my imagination runs wild. It writes stories you never authored. It fills in blanks with the worst versions of what might be. It builds whole outcomes out of shadows and guesses. That's when I reach for the armor again. That's when I start preparing arguments that may never be needed. That's when I grip the steering wheel of my day like I can drive it out of trouble by sheer will. But I can't. I never could. And you're not asking me to. You're asking me to trust you, even with what I can't yet see, even with what might not happen at all. And isn't that the deeper battle? Not the thing itself, but how I respond to what might. I can feel fine, peaceful, even, and then a single sentence, a comment, a message, a reminder of a past failure can send my heart into a spiral of defense. I brace, I tighten, I draft replies in my mind. And you gently whisper, you don't need to pick that up. That's not your sword today. But still, something in me feels responsible for the outcomes, for the perceptions, for the reactions of others. Something in me forgets you're the one holding the map, not me. So right now, Lord, I name the fears, not to entertain them, but to unmask them. I name the conversations I dread, the tasks I keep pushing aside because I'm afraid I'll mess them up, the feeling that I'm already behind before the day has properly begun, the pressure to prove myself in places you never called me to perform. I bring these fears into the light, not because I want to wrestle with them all morning, but because I want you to hold them. Because when I don't name them, they grow teeth in the dark. But when I place them in your hands, they lose their bite. They become small again, right-sized, and I can see what they really are. Not truths, but triggers. Not reality, but old echoes trying to sound fresh. And when I'm tempted to go to battle with my own mind, teach me how to respond with stillness instead. Teach me how to sit in the discomfort without needing to conquer it. Not every anxious moment requires a solution. Some just require your presence. Some just require me to breathe slowly, deeply, and remind my body that I'm safe, that you're not pacing in heaven wondering what to do with me, that you're not improvising, that you're not surprised by what's on my calendar or what's coming from left field today. If I'm with you, then I'm already in the safest place I can be, even if nothing around me changes. You're not just the God of the outcome, You are the God of the middle, the in-between. The places where the enemy likes to whisper, "See, he's not coming," but you are coming. You always are. Maybe not in the way I expect. Maybe not to fix what I want fixed. But you always come for me. You always make your presence known if I stay long enough in the quiet to feel it, and sometimes that's the hardest part. Staying, not fleeing the moment with distractions, not scrolling past my own heartache, not pouring another cup of coffee to mask the shakiness inside, but staying, sitting, breathing, and letting you sit with me. That's the kind of courage I need today. Not the courage to win, but the courage to stay still long enough to remember I'm not in this alone. God, it's not just the external battles that wear me down, it's the internal ones. The pressure I put on myself to do this well, to not disappoint, to not fall behind, to meet expectations that no one even said out loud, but I still carry them like law. And then I compare, I notice how far ahead others seem to be, how much better they manage their days, how confident they sound, and I start to feel small, not in the holy way that invites surrender, but in the shaming way that whispers, "You're already failing." But that's not your voice. Your voice never humiliates, never pushes me harder just to prove I can keep up. Your voice is kind, even when you correct me. Your voice builds me up, even when you're calling me to let go. So let me tune into that voice today. Let it be the loudest one in the room of my heart, louder than fear, louder than comparison, louder than the echoes of mistakes I haven't yet forgiven myself for. Let your voice walk with me through the noise. Let it reframe how I see the next thing on my list, not as something I must conquer, but as something I can walk through with you. I don't want to spend this day managing outcomes. I want to walk in awareness. I want to stay connected, to move at the speed of grace, not anxiety, to answer when you whisper, to pause when you place your hand gently on my shoulder and say, "Let me handle this one," to believe you really are better at defending me than I am, better at orchestrating conversations, better at preparing hearts, better at opening the right doors and closing the ones that lead nowhere. And when I'm tempted to re-enter a fight you already ended, help me remember I don't have to. I get to choose peace. I know there will be moments today when it won't feel that simple, when the pressure will rise and the old patterns will flare. But even then, maybe especially then, anchor me. Don't let me default to striving. Don't let me fall for the lie that hustle equals worth. I don't want to be strong for the sake of appearance. I want to be surrendered for the sake of truth. And the truth is, I'm not the savior of this day. You are. I'm not the answer to every problem. You are. I'm not the one whose strength holds the world together. You are. So today, I'll do what I can, but I won't try to do what only you can. I'll show up, but I won't force outcomes. I'll speak with kindness, but I won't manage others' responses. I'll take each step, but I'll leave the results to you. And when I forget, bring me back, not with shame, but with that gentle clarity that only your spirit brings. Remind me, again and again, this battle is not mine today. Not because I'm lazy, not because I'm avoiding life, but because I'm walking with the one who fights for me and whose victories don't require my exhaustion to be real. God, I'm learning something I should have known from the beginning, that surrender isn't passive. That choosing not to fight in my own strength isn't a retreat from responsibility, but a return to the center, your center, where wisdom flows instead of panic, where discernment replaces urgency, where I don't need to scramble to hold everything together because you already are. And I wonder how many battles I've fought out of habit, how many days I've stepped into on edge, armor on, assuming conflict, preparing for resistance, believing that struggle is the proof I'm engaged. But what if real engagement looks like laying down what was never mine to carry? What if peace, not tension, is the measure of alignment with you? I don't want to live braced. I don't want to spend my days clenching against the next blow. That posture, shoulders tight, jaw set, heart half shielded, it keeps me distant even from you, even from joy, even from the gentle presence you offer, hour by hour. I want to walk softer, not because I expect a soft world, but because I'm learning to trust a strong God. You don't need me defensive. You don't need me constantly calculating risks and threats and backup plans. You need me available, grounded, attentive to you more than to fear. And if I can hold to that, even for 5 minutes at a time, maybe today will feel different, because the battle I often think I'm in isn't even mine. The proving? That's not mine. The constant internal narration about whether I'm doing enough, being enough, saying the right thing, missing the right cue, none of that is mine to fix. That's ego disguised as diligence. That's insecurity posing as stewardship. And it makes me tired, God. It makes me live from a place of pressure instead of promise. And you didn't wake me up today to run that race again. You woke me to be present, to be faithful, to be human, not a machine, not a warrior without end, not a fixer of every broken place I see. So, let's reset. Let this moment be the doorway to a different way of being in the world today. Let the first breath I take in your presence be a realignment, not just mentally, but emotionally, spiritually, even physically. If my shoulders are tensed, help me release them. If my heart is guarded, help me soften. If my mind is racing through what's next, slow it down. You're not just in the sanctuary of churches, you are in the space between moments. You're in this quiet right now, and if you are here, then I don't need to run ahead. I can sit in this grace for as long as it takes to remember what's true. And what's true is this: you've always handled what I couldn't. Quietly, without applause, without fanfare. You've entered rooms I was afraid of. You have softened hearts I thought were stone. You have answered prayers I forgot I prayed. And when things didn't turn out how I hoped, you were still kind, still present, still patient. So why would I suddenly assume that today is different? That today you'll sit back and leave me to it? That today you expect me to impress you with stamina and savvy and polish? You are not that kind of God. You are not asking me for performance. You are offering me presence. Help me recognize when I've shifted into striving, when my words sound polished, but my heart is far, when my actions look committed, but my spirit is anxious. I don't want to be a soldier of appearances. I want to be a follower of your voice. And sometimes that voice says, go. Sometimes it says, speak. But often, more often than I let myself believe, it says, wait, watch, let me lead. So today, I'm asking for the strength, not to charge, but to follow, not to force, but to yield, not to impress, but to abide. There will be challenges. I'm not naive to that. There are dynamics I will need to navigate, conversations I cannot avoid, emotions that will rise when I least expect them. But the difference isn't in what happens. The difference is in how I stand in it. Will I face it armored in my own strength or clothed in yours? Will I move with urgency or with grace? Will I defend myself before I've even been attacked, or trust that you defend the heart that trusts you? Let me feel no shame in rest today. Let me feel no guilt in saying, I need help. Let me feel no hesitation in asking you for wisdom before opening my mouth. And when I do act, let it be from a place of clarity, not compulsion, from peace, not pressure, from grounding, not grasping, because I've seen what happens when I fight alone. I burn out, I lash out, I spiral, and worst of all, I lose sight of you. But when I let you go first, even when it feels slow, even when I don't fully understand, I stay connected, I stay covered, I stay held. So I'm asking, again with full awareness that I've asked before and will ask again tomorrow, lead this day, Lord. Go before me. Walk with me. Remind me that the heaviness I feel doesn't mean I've failed. It might just mean I've been trying to win something you never asked me to fight for. Show me what is mine to do. Show me what is yours. Help me tell the difference. And give me the courage to put down the sword when all I really need is to lift up my hands. If I feel tension in a conversation, let me breathe instead of break. If I'm tempted to over-explain, let me trust that clarity doesn't always come from more words. If I sense resistance where I expected openness, let me trust your timing more than my plans. And if I feel like I'm not enough, remind me that you never chose me because I was. You chose me because you love me, because you work through the week, because your grace is not a reward for performance, it's a promise for the surrendered. Let that promise carry me today. Let it shape my pace. Let it tune my voice. Let it filter my thoughts. Let it soften my tone. Let it protect my peace. And when I forget, when I react, when I rush, when I tighten, pull me back gently, not with condemnation, but with that quiet reminder I've needed so often. This battle is not mine today. There are days, God, when I carry peace like a flame in the wind, shielding it with both hands, praying it doesn't go out. I feel like I have to guard it with constant vigilance, because the world, or even just my own thoughts, keeps trying to blow it out. And on those days, I feel the strain of holding it all together, of staying soft when I want to harden, of choosing trust when fear would be easier. And this morning, it feels like one of those days. But instead of bracing, I bring it all here. Because if I keep trying to guard the flame alone, I'll eventually forget that it never came from me. You lit it. You sustain it. And you don't need my frantic effort to keep it alive. You just need me to remember who holds the wind. So I breathe again, not because the circumstances are lighter, but because my soul is quieter. You are not in the panic. You are not in the pressure. You are in the whisper, and I don't want to miss it today. I don't want to live so tightly wound that I forget what it means to be loved by you, because that's what this is really about, isn't it? This battle that's not mine. It's not just about workload or conflict or responsibilities. It's about identity, about who I believe I am when everything feels vulnerable, when plans don't unfold, when people misunderstand me, when effort doesn't produce the outcome I wanted. That's when the old lies try to come back, that I'm alone, that I have to fight for my place, that if I don't carry it, no one will. But you are already carrying me. You have been from the beginning, before I had language for you, before I could distinguish between striving and surrender, before I could recognize the difference between peace and numbness. You were there, and you're here now, in the spaces I call ordinary, in the breath I take as I pause before beginning another task, in the quiet before I answer the next message, the next need, the next demand. You are not waiting at the finish line. You're walking every step, and that changes how I carry today. That changes everything. Because when I remember you're walking with me, I stop trying to outrun everything that feels too big. I stop fearing the silence in conversations, the unknown in decisions, the tension in relationships. I begin to believe again that you're not just capable, you're already involved. You're already softening what needs to be soft. You're already holding what I can't fix. You're already planting peace in places I thought would always be battlegrounds. So help me walk in rhythm with you, not ahead, not behind, just with. There's a version of today I could live out that looks exactly like every other day. Same habits, same reactions, same tightness in my chest by noon, and no one would know the difference. But I would. I'd feel it in the tiredness behind my eyes. I'd feel it in the way I flinch at small interruptions. I'd feel it in the way I don't really listen because I'm too preoccupied with what's next. And that version of me, I've worn it for too long. I know its shape. I know how it plays out. It ends in depletion. It ends in quiet resentment. It ends in feeling like no matter what I do, it's never quite enough. But there's another version, a surrendered version, a slower, softer one. Not lazy, not disconnected, just grounded, just led, where I show up with openness, not defense, where I speak with intention, not urgency, where I let you guide what I say yes to and what I leave alone, where I don't mistake productivity for peace. That version starts here with a breath, with a decision, with a simple prayer. God, help me not to carry what isn't mine. Help me not to fight battles you've already claimed. Help me not to take responsibility for things that are beyond my reach. Other people's hearts, outcomes I can't control, expectations I was never meant to meet. I release them to you, and I'll probably need to release them again before this day ends. But that's okay. You are patient. You don't shame me for forgetting. You gently bring me back every time, like a shepherd who knows the terrain. You guide me away from the cliffs I keep wandering toward. You whisper reminders when my ears start ringing with stress. You slow my steps when I try to rush out of discomfort, and you never grow weary of doing so. You are not annoyed by my neediness. You are honored by it. You welcome it, because it means I know where my help comes from. I've tried to be enough. I've tried to be composed and competent and always prepared. But there's freedom in saying, I'm not enough for all of this, but I don't have to be. That's what grace is. Not just a cushion when I fall, but a companion while I walk. Grace that shows up in the middle of a sentence I don't know how to finish. Grace that meets me in the middle of a decision that doesn't yet feel clear. Grace that catches me before I spiral into self-doubt. Grace that doesn't just heal, it strengthens. It holds. It carries. So I lean into that now. And if I forget, by this afternoon, I'll lean again. That's the rhythm. That's the practice. Not a perfect performance, but a consistent returning. God, be my reminder today. When I walk into a room that feels heavy, remind me I don't go in alone. When I face a task that feels too big, remind me it's not all on me. When my name is misunderstood or my motives questioned, remind me that you see clearly and I don't have to explain myself to everyone. When I fall short, remind me that failure is not the end. When something unexpectedly goes right, remind me to thank you, not just assume it was my effort. Keep me anchored, keep me honest, keep me tender enough to feel your promptings, even in the busiest moments. And if I forget all of this, if the hours pass and I lose the thread, and I find myself again bracing and planning and reacting, then in that moment, God, bring me back with gentleness, with grace, with a whisper that cuts through the noise and says, this is still not your battle. Come back to me. God, as the light of this morning grows stronger, so does the quiet recognition in me that I cannot carry what today might ask of me. Not alone, not well, not without, slowly unraveling by nightfall. And maybe that's not failure. Maybe that's the invitation. Maybe my limits are not a threat to my calling, but a gateway into deeper trust. Because I've walked enough roads by now to know what happens when I make it all mine. The overthinking, the tension, the subtle panic hidden under the surface of every decision. The story in my head that I must be the one to fix it, to hold it, to finish it, to redeem it. And in that story, there's no room for you, only pressure, only fatigue, only fear, disguised as effort. But I'm not writing that story today. Today, I choose the quieter truth that this battle is not mine, that I don't begin this day from a place of lack, but from the center of your sufficiency, that I'm not stepping into chaos alone. I'm stepping in beside the one who already sees the outcome, and you are not anxious about any of it. You are not overwhelmed by what I'm walking into. So why should I let my body, my mind, my breath reflect a panic you never placed in me? Why should I embody tension when you have already promised to be my peace? I know now that some of the hardest battles are invisible, the ones fought in silence, in the background of the mind, where no one sees the fatigue of constantly choosing gentleness. No one hears the quiet yes to integrity when compromise would be easier. No one applauds the moment I choose to breathe instead of break. But you see, you always see, and you don't measure the value of this day by what gets accomplished, by what looks productive, by what earns praise. You measure by the unseen faithfulness, the internal turning toward you, again and again, in moments when it would be easier to just react. So help me walk through this day, faithful in that way, not showy, not performative, just steady, just yielded, just alert to your whispers in the places others overlook. Because maybe the battles that matter most aren't the ones fought in public, but the ones where I choose love over defensiveness, prayer over panic, stillness over control. And maybe what you're building in me is not a strategy, but a spirit, a posture, a readiness to trust you more quickly, more deeply, more consistently than I did yesterday. And maybe this is the secret of peace I've missed so often. Not that you remove every challenge, but that you offer to carry me through them without me needing to fight my way forward. That you are the strength underneath my effort, the wisdom behind my decisions, the shelter over my vulnerability. That you are more invested in my well-being than I am in my success. That nothing asked of me today, no call, no deadline, no emotional strain, no stretch of patience needs to be met by my strength alone, because you will meet it with me, not far away, not later, but here, now. So I slow down. I let the tension leave my shoulders. I let the breath return to my lungs in fullness. I remind my soul, I am not behind. I am not failing. I am not forgotten. This is not a performance. This is a walk with the living God. And you are not tracking my productivity. You are holding my heart. You are not waiting for perfection. You are delighting in my nearness. You are not demanding proof of my value. You already declared it when you breathed life into me. Let that truth settle where fear once sat. Let that truth walk with me into conversations that might be hard, into decisions I still don't feel equipped to make, into moments when the path feels unclear, into the hours when I forget everything I've just prayed and start reaching again for control. In those moments, Lord, recenter me, not with shame, never with shame, but with a calmness that feels like you, with a tenderness that cuts through the fog and says, this too is not your battle, rest in me, let me carry it. Because at the heart of all this is trust. Not that nothing hard will happen, but that nothing hard will happen without you. Not that I'll get every step right, but that you'll walk beside me even when I stumble. Not that I'll be unshakable, but that you will hold me when I shake. And when I reach the end of today and look back, whether it went beautifully or broke me down, I'll still say, God was in it. God was near. God was enough. So I lay down every expectation I've wrapped around this day, every fear of disappointing someone, every urge to prove, every layer of defensiveness, every whisper that says I must make it through by force. I lay them down, not in defeat, but in faith, because surrender isn't giving up, It's handing over what was never mine to keep, and you have never once dropped what I placed in your hands. Take it again today, God. The fear, the plan, the performance, the pressure, the invisible battles no one else sees. Take it all. I'll walk, I'll serve, I'll speak when you call me to, but I will not fight for what already belongs to you. This battle is not mine today, and I trust the one who goes before me.